Hi everyone and welcome to Season 2 of Geordie Pride Voices from the Northeast. Our very first guest episode of Season 2 is a special one. Both me and Angela sat down with the much loved Anthony Hutton, famously known for winning Big Brother in 2005. In this conversation, Anthony takes us on a journey through his life, starting from his upbringing in County Durham, navigating through his Big Brother experience and the whirlwind of fame that followed. He opens up about the highs and lows of sudden celebrity, his transition back to reality, and how being a barber and his passion for mental health advocacy inspired him to make a difference. Anthony shares some really touching stories with us, including the profound influence of his grandma on his journey and his dedication to the Never Throw in the Towel project. Before we head into the episode, I also want to mention that Anthony has a documentary out on Amazon Prime called Surviving Reality Beyond the TV Dream, where he does go into more of these stories and talks about his battles with addiction and mental health. So after listening to this episode, why don't you hop on over to Amazon and check that out as well. So without further ado, grab a cuppa and let's dive into the world of Anthony Hutton, past, present and future. You're listening to Geordie Pride, Voices from the Northeast. I'm Hayley and alongside my cousin Angela, we're thrilled to bring you the stories that share the heart and soul of the northeast of England. Each episode we'll dive into the lives of extraordinary Geordies and those who call the northeast home, exploring their journeys and celebrating their achievements. From the time to the teas, from the arts to the sports fields, we're here to share the tales of passion, resilience, and of course, Geordie pride. So whether you're from Whitley Bay or Washington, Gateshead or Gisborough, or you're just fascinated by the spirit of the Northeast, join us as we natter with the best the Northeast has to offer. Welcome to Geordie Pride, Anthony.
Thank you for having me. Lovely to meet you.
So I think a lot of people listening will know you from winning Big Brother a few years ago, but I want to go right back to the beginning. I want to hear where you're from in the Northeast and what was Anthony Hutton like when he was a young lad?
So thanks for having me. We've had a good little giggle before we even started. So I'm originally from County Durham. I grew up in a little place called Delves Lane, just a little kind of place in Consett really. And I had such a fantastic upbringing. It was a little bit like the Waltons. My kind of setup was I lived with grandma, granddad, me mum, me auntie, and me uncle. It was a 3-bedroomed house, so it was quite compact, and I was basically like the baby of the family, really, totally mollycoddled. I always say I had two mums because I had mum and I also had grandma, but they were both like mums. In fact, I would never be cheeky to grandma, but I would be sometimes cheeky to me mum. And yeah, I went to St. Patrick's School, and also it was fantastic because my grandma was me dinner lady. That was class because we moved from Delves Lane when I was about 8, and we actually moved into the same street as my school, which was St. Patrick's in Consett. So I literally lived next door. So because my grandma was my dinner lady, I was on packed lunches, but my packed lunches were like unbelievable. They'd be like corned beef pie, mince and dumplings. She would literally bring me packed lunch in when she would come in and be a dinner lady.
What was your favourite packed lunch out of all of them?
I used to the two that I probably mentioned really. She done this unbelievable corned beef pie and the mince and dumplings as well. And to be honest, that type of food's still me favourite type of food, to be honest. Granny food, I call it.
Puts hairs on your chest, man, Anthony. So what got you into Big Brother then? How did you kind of just that evolve? Did you want to do it? Was it something that it was just off the cuff and you thought, oh, I'll try that? Or have you always wanted to do it?
No, I've always been, and I don't know whether it was installed in me from parenting, but I've always been really, really ambitious. So the whole of my youth, and from literally being a little boy, I always wanted to be a footballer. But I was like, I took that really, really serious. I was a really, really good kid in terms of like everything was football. I didn't drink. I wasn't interested in girls. It was just football, football, football. And I come from a very, very much like a football family, a real football family. So like growing up, it was just all about football really. And I had huge support. This might sound a little bit long-winded, this answer, but it's kind of like I just need to let you know the kind of the background. So I always had like mum, grandma, uncle always follow me around playing football. Basically, that like most young lads, that dream didn't come off to be a footballer, but and I was absolutely useless at school. Had absolute zero interest in any form of academic schoolwork. Always, really struggled with it. But I think it was partly because I just had zero interest in it. So I didn't have any education really. So when I signed on the door, I think I was around about 17 or 18. I really wasn't keen on being on the door. I felt like kind of like this. I don't know. It just wasn't a good feeling having to sign on the door. But in the first job that kind of came up, which with remote interest, or that would be all right, was being a postman, because I just thought, oh, I'll be outside delivering mail. That's not too bad. But then I'd done that job, and it soon realised that I didn't like my job, couldn't stand it. It just wasn't for me. But it was quite frustrating because I kind of thought, is this it? It kind of is, because I didn't have any education, I didn't have a trade, but I just thought I've surely got more than this. And that's when the idea of getting on Big Brother came up in my head. I was a huge fan of the show. I always remember watching the first ever one, and I was glued from the start, and then kind of like watched them ever since. And then the idea of me going to do the show got really cemented in my head, and it was like, right, I'm going to go to these auditions, and I'm going to try and get on this show, and I'm going to try and change my life up. And that was the idea from getting on the show. I was hungry to change things up in my life.
From watching it myself when I was younger, I used to be so addicted to it as well, like with Nasty Nick and all that. Like I loved all, because I think that was the first season, wasn't it, with Nasty Nick? I think
it was absolute TV gold. That, like, even looking back on it now, it was TV gold, because it was the first ever one, and then he was so sneaky, and I still remember that being like, what, like, gripped.
So what was the audition process like? Did you have to do anything unusual? And what was it like when you found out that you got on it?
Yeah, I was borderline a super fan, to be perfectly honest. So the whole process I was just absolutely fascinated by. So basically, when I got on, I had to queue up. I set off at like 3:30 in the morning. I picked my mate up, and then we picked up my other mate. And my mate had actually been on the drink, so he was still like, I think he was still actually like pretty much pissed in the car. And whereas I was sober as a judge, and we blasted down to Manchester. And I think we were going out in Leeds on that weekend, but the lads came with me so I could audition. Or got to the front of the queue. The queue was absolutely huge. There was thousands of people there, and it was a very colourful crowd. It was, there was all sorts of different types of people. It was fascinating to see. And so, on a side note, I know I said I was a postman, but I'd actually quit the post office job, and I became a 70s disco dancer in this dance troupe that was called Stretch Limo's Boogie Express. And that job was, honestly, that job to this day was still probably it wasn't even a job really. The amount of fun I had doing that job as a 70s disco dancer, it was just unbelievable. It was the group was all males. We were all very similar type of lads in terms of like very outgoing. We were all straight. We all loved the ladies, and we all loved to dance. And I got brought up by 70s disco music, so my mum absolutely like loves, like one of her favorite movies was Saturday Night Fever. So I actually grew up watching that movie, and I knew all the songs, the Bee Gees, Disco Inferno. So I was just in my element. So that job kind of made me realize that I kind of like a bit of the limelight. I'm an extrovert. I like being on stage. So, and because it was such a unique job, as soon as I kind of met the producers, told them I was Anthony, but I was also called Chico Importante from Puerto Rico, teeth of whiteness, sauce of tightness, that immediately got their attention, and they got me to dance from the off, in front of everybody. So I basically just started dancing with some 70s moves in the queue, and yeah, and then it was like from then it just kind of built momentum really. There was a period where you had to talk into the diary room for about a minute. Like I said, I was coming from a very, very determined angle of getting on that show. I wasn't there to make friends. I was coming to them auditions like a steam train. Like I was looking to get on the show. I wasn't doing it for the crack. That competitive sporting background that I've always had cemented in me from a youth, that kind of like translated into the Big Brother auditions really. And it was so much fun. And then I got told I was on the show. I'll never forget, I got told I was going to be a housemate. And then I basically had to meet in a random location in London. And that was crazy in itself because before the auditions, I'd never been to London before. And I remember just stood at this location where I was told to meet, and some lad came and got me, told me he was going to be my chaperone. And then I got hidden away in France for 2 weeks before the show started. I stayed at a random little place called Dieppe in France. And the 2 weeks in France was carnage because the lad who was looking after me, he was a guy called Ollie, who I've never seen ever since the show. He was like 26. We got on like a house on fire. So we were basically just on the drink for 2 weeks in France. We'd done a road trip to Paris. We had random French people back at our house constantly. It was carnage. Even before getting on the Big Brother house, the journey was unbelievable, and I'll never forget it.
So you were just with Ollie and that was it? So you had no idea where any of the other ones were or anything like that? Were they in a different location or?
No idea. No. But what was interesting, though, it's a good question that you mentioned that. So on our way back from France to get into England, from the borders, because we drove to France, I remember there was about 6 cars in front, and there was a black guy with a bald head who looked like he was in his 50s, and he was with a white guy who was around about Ollie's age, 25, 26. And I was like, oh, he's got to be a housemate. He's got to be a housemate. And sure enough, I was proved right when I walked in the house, and one of the first guys I clocked was Derek. And I don't know whether you remember my year, but Derek was the guy who I seen. This really posh, Tory, black, gay man.
Yes, I totally remember him.
We went against a lot of stereotypes. You know, he played tennis, and that was the guy. So, but apart from randomly seeing him coming back, No, I didn't meet any of the housemates or speak to any of the housemates or anything like that before the show started.
Oh, wow. It must have been such a process for you, and I bet it was like just kind of a whirlwind for you, actually.
Oh yeah, the whole thing was mind blown. Like, even so, when I came back, so the Thursday coming back into England, I had to wear a mask to hide my face, and then got put into a hotel. But obviously, it was all top secret. And I always remember being in the hotel and I wasn't allowed to come out of the hotel room. I wasn't allowed to answer the door or anything like that, because back then they were really hell bent on the press not knowing who was going to go into the house. But so I remember just being in my room on the Thursday night, just literally like, I cannot believe I'm going in the Big Brother house tomorrow. This is just, it was absolutely mind blowing, because, like I touched on before, I was such a huge fan. It was such a whole surreal experience. And then when I done the walk into the Big Brother house and then got into the house, it took me a little bit. I was kind of like starstruck. So for the first couple of days, I was like in awe of the whole situation. I remember going into the day room, and again, I was just like looking around, going, "I'm in the day room. I can't believe I'm in the day room. This is crazy." But then it kind of just, it almost started as time passed by. I was in there for nearly 3 months. So I think for 79 days I was at. So it actually got to the point where I felt that comfortable in it. Leaving the house felt weird, because I was actually so used to the people. A lot of people ask the question, like, what was it like? Was it the same? The whole experience was exactly how you've seen it, in terms of, I did not speak to any producers. There was nothing set up. Every single situation that happened in there completely happened organically. 9 weeks into it, we had to speak to a psychologist, but that was in the day room. We didn't see his face, and that was just like a brief conversation that was maybe 5 minutes, just literally just checking in, like, are you okay? Just checking in on us, really. But apart from that, everything else was how the kind of viewers would kind of see it, really. Obviously broken down and edited into a 1 hour show on the night, but there was nothing set up at all.
Yeah, my daughter was asking that before, because she was asking, like, who are you speaking to tonight? And so I explained what Big Brother was, and she was like, she just couldn't grasp it. She was like, so you just like watch people in a house? Like, is there no script or anything? I'm like, no, I don't know about now, like, let's be honest, but like back when you were doing it, like, it was just like you say, very organic, and I think that was like part of the appeal of it, is that it was just real people like us sitting in a house, and there was frictions and everything like that, but it was like, that's what was good about it, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think by nature we are very, very nosy, and we like, it's that fly on the wall situation. I always think, again, it is, if you describe Gogglebox, watching people watching telly, so I can't imagine how that pitch, to try and pitch that idea, it sounds horrendous, but actually it's really watchable, where you're just watching two people watch the telly, and within time, someone's going to say something funny, or I think we naturally, there's something in us clearly that finds that appealing, because it was such an appealing, watchable show in the likes of Gogglebox. And if you put the right mix of people in, living in a confined space, it proved that you don't really need to fix or make things happen. Things will naturally happen.
Yeah, definitely. I bet it was one of those things where when you saw Davina McCall as well, because back in those days, Davina she was brilliant, wasn't she? She kind of made the show as well, though.
Oh yeah,
I bet that was amazing.
Yeah. Like, I do guest speaking and stuff now, and I touch on my Big Brother experience, and it was a really extreme taste of fame. Like not many other things, I always, if you're an actor, if you are a singer, or you're in a band, you've probably seen some form of gradual fame, where more people are coming to the gig, you've landed a bigger acting role, blah de blah de blah. where mine was, I lived with mum and grandma and granddad in Consett. I was a really naive young 23-year-old, like really mollycoddled, didn't pay rent, didn't pay any board, just all my money was me drinking money. I did obviously have a bit of taste of an element of fame in terms of being on stage, being a dancer, but my life was very, very simple. Then the next time I moved out grandma's house was the Big Brother house, and then was in there for 3 months, then came out to fireworks, came out to people holding posters of me face, people shouting my name. It was absolutely mind blown. I'd just won £50,000. I'd just won the show. Again, that was just, it was kind of like, it was as if I was in a movie or something. Then the next day, I was with my mum, who had signed with an agent, and I'd just signed a £200,000 photo shoot the next day, and then I got whisked away to do a photo shoot in a mansion to get interviewed from OK magazine. So it was like a wallop, a huge wallop of a high, crazy experience.
Yeah, I bet. Do you think that if you were ever asked to go in and do like a winners thing, like all the winners of all the years, do you think you would go back in? And if you did, what other person from any other series would you like to be stuck in the house with?
That's a question that gets asked. It's an interesting question, that, because I'm torn, because now at 42, married with a little 2-year-old, another baby on the way in July. You know, I don't want fame. I don't want it, to be honest. But there is a huge but. I've still got I'm a very much a you only live once type of person. The potential money that could be made now with the likes of social media, that would be very irresistible as well. I'm very, very torn. Me knowing me, I would probably have to still do it. I probably would have to still do it. My wife, she's always like, yeah, go on, do it. She's really supportive with stuff like that. And then in terms of who I would do it with, I don't know. If they were going to do a winners one, then obviously it would just be like, throw all the winners in. From being a fan of the show, I'm surprised they never done that. Because being a fan, it's a question that I always get asked, or, you know, if people are asking us about Big Brother and stuff, question that gets mentioned a lot, like, oh, there should have been a winners one. And I know that they did do another one where they got people in, but I don't think the cast that they picked was very good. They should have done a winners one, I think.
I would love that. What did they just do like a couple of months ago? It was the Love Island All Stars, wasn't it? So they might have got the idea from that. They'll be like,
yeah,
oh, Big Brother All Stars and get all the past winners in. That would be kind
of. Maybe. I don't know.
You never know.
I don't 100%. It would be, honestly, it would be a hard one though, because there is a part of me that like wouldn't want I would definitely want the money. I wouldn't want the fame.
Is there anybody that you wouldn't want to hope to be stuck in the house with? I'm not allowed to answer that.
You know what? There's no one that could really do that to me, to be honest, because nothing really bothers me, to be honest. I'm very laid back. I'm very, if there is a problem, I'm someone who is prepared to sort it out in a non-confrontational way. I'm just someone who would kind of like, well, if there is a problem, then let's, like, what is the problem, and let's sort it out. So there's no one that could do that to me, to be honest, where I'd be like, oh my God, they're going in, or I don't want to go in. No one could do that, to be honest. That's my mentality and mindset on the situation.
I think that's a great mindset, and I think it's probably a bit of, I don't think I would have been like that when I was younger, but I think maybe maturity and having kids and stuff really kind of leans into that, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I would totally agree with that. life experience probably has a huge part of that. I always say that I would consider myself as the best version of myself, and that's just purely from life experience.
And you've alluded to it a couple of times about not wanting the fame. Like, obviously, when you came out, it was a massive shock to the system. It was like going from your granny's house to being on magazine covers and things like that. Like, what were the biggest challenges with that? Like, I can't quite grasp it in my head, like what that would be like for you and what a shock to the system it would have felt.
So I absolutely was all over that. It didn't particularly faze me, that side of it. The fame and the huge hit, I was loving it. I was young, single, very outgoing lad who was an extrovert, who I've always been really good socially. I loved nightclubs. I was totally suited to it. Did it have negatives? Absolutely. Of course it did. If you win 50 million in the lottery, there's going to be some negatives. The main negatives really were when the fame and money died. So there was a huge high, but actually there was also a huge low. So when it got to the point when the fame and money started to gradually go and it started to dwindle, then it got to the point where it was, I think I need a job. Money's not coming in. I was so paranoid. You had pride, ego, all of that come into play. I feel like I can't get a normal job, because for so long I was Anthony from Big Brother. That was my title, and so that gradually started getting worse and worse, and it got into a dark place. So that was the bad side of it and the downside of it. But would I change it? I wouldn't. I wouldn't change it, because it's built me the man I am. I've turned all of those negatives into a positive. Now I talk about mental health. I'm an advocate. I help a lot of people. I've turned all them negatives and losses, and I've turned them all into a positive. And like I said, for me, it's just a journey, isn't it? That's what life's about, isn't it? It's a journey.
So obviously that was something that you're obviously very passionate about, Anthony, and from the things that you've gone through with Big Brother and been through dark place and stuff like that. So how long have you been doing all the mental health work now for all the men and things like that? And I've heard that you've branched out to do, obviously the ladies are introduced into groups now as well.
Yeah, so it's a beautiful story, really, which might sound contradicting, really, to such a dark subject. I'd been in a real bad place. I managed to get out of it, and then I got back into the hair industry. So just a quick side note: when I was a 70s disco dancer, it gave me the opportunity to get into hairdressing. So anyway, I got back into the hair industry, and that, being a barber, talking to men for a living, I started getting men to open up to me, just naturally, because that's what the barber chair does. And that, being in that dark place, I was always I kept them cards close to my chest. I moved to Darlington to get out of for a complete change up, for a clean slate, and I was actively moving to Darlington. Was my first ever job that I got from Big Brother. This was 2013. So I had I had got lads, like I said, were naturally opening up to me, and then that just gave me the natural nudge to start sharing my experience, to give them a bit of hope, really, because I was like, listen, I've also been in that headspace, mate. I'm out of it now. This is what I've done. As a barber, I find myself giving a lot of advice, and it's primarily, like I said, it's cutting hair, but it's it's talking to people, really. And then, so it was kind of like being a barber kind of highlighted that. It kind of showed me that men really struggle. Then my grandma passed away, and that was that was really, really difficult. And so when I done my grandma's eulogy, it was something that I took really serious. Doing my grandma's eulogy, I took so much pride in it, and I was like, I'm going to give her the best send off she could ever possibly have, and I'm going to tell her story so well. And so when I done my grandma's eulogy, I wanted to end on a positive note, and I used the words, "She never threw in the towel. She done everything she possibly could to keep on living." And that was describing her attitude towards stage 4 cancer, when she just had such a positive attitude. She never, ever, ever once flinched or gave up or complained. And she literally done everything she possibly could. She changed her nutrition. She'd done research on, being plant-based could really help her cancer. Just seeing her attitude towards that, she had a huge faith in God as well, which was beautiful to see, because she just wasn't scared of dying. Anyway, outside the church, I was with my mum straight after the funeral, and a gentleman came up to me who I'd never seen before in my life, and he had literally tears trickling down his face, and he said, "Your eulogy was absolutely amazing, Anthony." And he said, "I knew your grandma from a lot of years ago. She was an absolute amazing woman." My grandma was like a legend in the St. Patrick's community at school. She was at the school for many years, and she touched a lot of lives. She was really, really respected. The church was packed out at her funeral. Anyway, the same night, I was in the house, in my mum's house in concert, and the same bloke sent me a message request on Facebook, and he just sent me a massive long message sharing with me that he'd been massively struggling with his mental health. He shared with me that he'd been going to see professional help, and he'd been feeling suicidal. And the words that have jumped out at him, that I spoke about with grandma, the words "never throw in the towel," really hit home. And he used the words, he's going to continue. And that was just, that massively touched me. That was just kind of like, I was just like, wow. It did light a fire in me. And from then it was like, I thought, if I unknowingly helped someone with words in a story, and I started literally Googling how to be a guest speaker. I was just actively looking for agencies, how to talk on this subject. I thought, I'm just going to start speaking on this subject. It needs spoken about, and there's a burning passion in me. I'm not a guest speaker, but there was just this fire that lit in me where it's like, I'm actually going to start spreading this message, talking about it. And I know Holly has been on your show, Holly Matthews, and me and Holly go way back. We done a pantomime years ago together. What was it? I was the Scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz. The Scarecrow got no brain, so I didn't really have to act. I just had to be myself. So Holly reached out to me, I think it was on Facebook, and about an event. And then anyway, I sent me number, and she went, "Listen, I'm doing this event, Happy Me Project. I'm doing it in Newcastle. Will you be on the panel for it? And we'll ask you questions and stuff." And I basically asked, I said, "All right, what is it?" She went, "Oh, well, I've got like a load of like guest speakers." And I just jumped in there. I went, can I be a speaker?" And she was like, "All right, okay, what about?" And I just said, "I'll like want to talk about men's mental health." And then she was like, "Right, okay, well, what do you want to call your talk?" And it was just, the first thing that came into my head was like, never throw in the towel. And yeah, so from then it blew up, and it's just, but it's just amazing, because every single time I do my talk, I talk about my grandma. And last week I was talking in front of like over 200 people, packed room full of strangers, and I'm about to do it, and I'm just kind of don't really have any fee, because I'm just like, yeah, Gran, you've still got me back. You always had me back, and yeah. So that's the story, where it all comes from.
It's definitely very powerful, Anthony, definitely. And obviously you're talking from the heart, and I think that's probably the best place to start, really, isn't it? Talk about what you know. And obviously your grandma's a big positive influence on you, and I think that's absolutely amazing, and what you do is amazing.
That's the thing. Like, it's not hard when you're talking from life experience and from the heart. That's exactly what I always say, to be honest. Again, I'm getting called a keynote speaker, and I'm just like, I don't really see myself as this kind of like professional speaker. I'm sharing a story, and I'm speaking from the heart, and that's it, really.
But I think that's probably what makes it so effective, though. Unfortunately, I was in corporate for a while, and like I had plenty of speakers coming in, professional keynote speakers, and half of the time I would switch off. I'll be honest, like, because it just wasn't like, you could tell it was such a rehearsed script of like things that they thought they had to say for X, Y, and Z, and the ones that I would really listen to and get some impact from were the people that would just stand up and talk from the heart and talk about their experiences, and they're so open and so vulnerable. And that's what, because like you mentioned it before, you made that impact on that one guy at your grandma's funeral. Like, that is just so special. And if you know you can do that in just, even if it's one person in one room from one speech, like the impact that can make is amazing. And being open and vulnerable, I think, is something we need to see more from, particularly men. Let's be honest, there's definitely a gender difference there. Like, plenty of women can speak quite openly, but men just seem to really struggle with it.
Yeah, that's the main message of the project. Talking's a strength, not a weakness. That's and it is true, though. There's actually huge strength in vulnerability. It's just that mindset, that, and especially like men from the northeast's the worst region for suicide. Construction's the worst occupation for suicide. Why? Because
I didn't know that.
yeah, they're the facts, they're the stats, and it's because, for example, construction, like gadgets, like blokes, proper gadget blokes, man of the house, the man's man, all these things integrated into our vocabulary, into our culture. But actually, when you look at the statistics of 3/4 of reported suicide are male in the UK, we have to try and change our attitude, our mentality, and look at it. And that's why one of the reasons why I'm actively going out and doing talks, sharing the story, sharing the information, and trying helping tackling the problem. Because when I do my talk, there's a segment of the talk where I open it up to the audience, and there's always like men and women in the audience, and I ask just to the women, hands up if you felt anxious, depressed, in a dark place, just not in a good headspace. Hands up who've talked about it, if you've spoke to someone. And all of the women put their hands up. And then I open it up to the men, the same question. And hardly any bloke puts their hand up. And then that exercise right there shows you why the statistics are so lopsided. It's so bad. And not suicide's bad. It's really bad for women as well. But like, from statistics point, it's really, really lopsided. I think a lot of it's they don't talk. The men are 3 times as likely to turn to substance abuse or alcohol than women. And again, it's that's what I done, and it's one of the worst things you can possibly do if you're not in a good headspace. But what we do is it's escapism. When you get intoxicated for a period of time, it takes you away from that bad feeling you've got. But then when you've got that, when the combination of the come down from the alcohol or from the drugs combined with being in that dark place, that is a terrible combination, and that's when a lot of people kill themselves.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's on a huge scale, isn't it? Unfortunately, I think it might be like a generational thing as well. Do you not think, Anthony, where it's like, Geordie lads are told, don't cry or don't talk about it.
Yeah,
I don't know if we're getting any better at that, or whether it is a generational thing, or I don't know. What do you think your views on that?
absolutely. I think culture, like being from the northeast, we're tough guys, like a man's man. That absolutely plays a part. The statistic that surprised me was like blokes high in the 40s and 50s. That they're the highest rate of suicide, which initially did surprise me actually, because we spoke about life experience and stuff before, and I touched on me being the best version of myself and stuff. So you would have thought, because of that life experience and stuff and lessons, learning from mistakes, that would suggest that, but the statistics don't. But I think you look at blokes getting divorced, something that doesn't get touched on is the drop of testosterone. It's been proven the drop of testosterone in males plays a big part of mental health, suicide. I don't really touch on that in my talks because I don't feel like I'm educated enough yet to talk on that, but it's something that I'm actively doing research on. Women get, if women's kind of hormone levels and stuff, that you do get assisted with that medically, don't you? Where in America there's something called testosterone replacement therapy. That actually is something that males can take, but it's not really that much of a thing in the UK at the moment. There's a lot of different factors, and there'll be loads of factors that I don't know of, but I think one of the main ones is talking.
Yeah, definitely. How do people access your sort of talks and your services, Anthony? How do they do that?
So I'm on LinkedIn, Anthony Hutton. I'm really active on LinkedIn. I've always been a barber, mate, so me being on LinkedIn in a kind of corporate world it's very different for me. But now I'm on there, I'm quite active. It's fantastic, LinkedIn. I've pretty much got probably 90% of my work regarding Never Throw in the Towel project from LinkedIn, or you can contact me on Instagram, Anthony Hutton, or Facebook. We also have a free members group on Facebook, the Never Throw in the Towel project, and that's just like a mindset positivity group where we'll have motivation Monday, workout Wednesday, feel good Friday, where we actively set tasks like 3 liters of water a day, get 10,000 steps in, the little stuff just to kind of like keep on top of your physical health, keep on top of your mental health. And we also run free retreats every month, free to attend, and they're absolutely amazing. I feel as if we've got to incorporate exercise and nature into our lifestyles, because this modern world that we live in, where a lot of us work from home, a lot of us, we have social media, we've got a lot of distractions that kind of take us away. And I think we've actually got to incorporate exercise, getting out in nature, into our lifestyles to keep on top of our mental health.
Yeah, 100%. I've noticed a massive difference in my, well, physical and mental health when I started working from home, and so it makes a massive difference. It's which why I'm quite pleased I've got dogs. I'm forced out the house a couple of times a day.
Yeah.
So what are your big plans moving forward, Anthony, for both never throwing the towel and also personally as well? Where do you see yourself going with all of this?
International superstar.
Of course.
You know what? I was on one of the first ever team meetings I was doing. It was like a hairdressing and education one, and you had to introduce myself, and I introduced myself as that, but just taking the piss, and it went down like such a lead balloon. There was just like, yeah,
not the right audience.
No, I couldn't, but I knew it. I just couldn't resist. I actually couldn't not resist it.
Putting it out to the universe, man.
It's just to continue growing the project. I'm kind of like, I'm like I touched on, I'm very driven, really driven, but I'm also like, I consciously try to have gratitude to, I've got a very, very, very great, I've got a beautiful life. I've got an absolute amazing wife who's just absolutely amazing woman. I've got the sweetest, nicest little boy. I've got a kid on the way, so I'm very, very grateful of that. I would I'd like to get the Never Throw in the Towel project all over the country. That's a little bit of a goal. I would like to, from a speaking point, I would love to do a TEDx talk. That's a bit of a goal, and I would just kind of continue trying to spread the message, really.
As a 42-year-old man looking back at your younger self, what advice would you like to give little Anthony?
It would just be, like I said, I wouldn't change. I pretty much wouldn't change much. It would have been, when I came into money, it would been to be a bit more business-like with your money. It's not going to last forever. It would have just been the period of when I'd won Big Brother, and I bought a couple of houses and stuff. I did put it somewhere, but if I was the guy I am now when I won Big Brother, I would have been a lot more business-like. But would I have had as much fun? Probably not. Probably not. So
exactly, swings and roundabouts.
So in short, the only advice I would have given myself is enjoy yourself, have a good time.
Yeah, I think that's fabulous, because we can get so caught up in just everything, like all that nitty gritty, can't we? And sometimes you just forget to just have fun and have a laugh and just go, do you know what? We're only here once. Let's just give it a go and have a good time.
Yeah, like, I don't know whether you're allowed to swear, but fuck it.
Yeah. So, should we go into the quick fire rounds now, Angela?
I'll
so we've
try
got
my best to be quick fire because I can talk shit.
No, it is quite funny, honestly. We've got some quick fire questions, and then there'll be some one word answers, and then there'll be like a good few that are like a good 10 minutes.
Right, okay.
It's all right. Well, I'm going to ask you about the hot tub. I think that one's been asked a few times.
You would die that, I could tell.
Okay, so just answer the first thing that comes to mind, and we've got a few for you, so let's see how we get on. So your first one is, what is your go-to Greg's order?
Corned beef pasty.
Oh, good one.
Quite boring, really.
It's a classic, though. It's a classic.
Corned beef pasty.
Yeah.
My question, Anthony, is cold sea swim or ice bath?
Well, I've got an ice bath in the garden.
We see you on Instagram doing that every morning.
No, that's why I asked.
I mean, but if I lived near a beach, it would be the sea.
I'm not brave enough for that, you know. Like, oh Jesus. Like, I can barely get into a tepid shower, never mind the North Sea.
If I could go in with a full suit on and a hat and gloves, I'll gladly go in.
Thing is, it's just it's how good it makes you feel afterwards.
I know. I've heard it's really good.
Yeah, I've said my husband was talking about getting one of the ones that you've got, Anthony, and it's like I love the idea, and I know that I'd probably really like it once I'm out. It's just the whole anticipation of getting into it. I don't know if I could cope.
Yeah, I think I've got I think I've got like a screw loose in me somewhere, because I'm just sometimes I think, why are you doing it? Like I'm a bit obsessive with it. I get a bit obsessive with things, and that's one of them.
But it's good. At least it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing for you.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think I need to be doing something one way or another, and that's a healthy way of doing it. So, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I need to be kicked from somewhere, so I may as well do it in a healthy way.
Yeah, 100%. So your next one is day out in the northeast, coast or countryside?
I think it's the last couple of Januaries we've been up Bamborough, and it's just absolutely it's absolutely beautiful there. I would say the coast.
There's loads of people said Bamborough. If we ask that question, there's loads of people say Bamborough. It is beautiful, mate.
Yeah,
it is making me want. I've not been to Bamborough for years. I need to go. It's it's just so beautiful, isn't it? And I need to
beautiful
make
place.
It is gorgeous castle. Yeah. Next one, Anthony. What's your favourite time of day?
Ooh, favourite time of day. I'm a bit of I've always been a night person, me. I've always been a night person. I would have to say just nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, with me, I was like, I hate getting up, and I love going to bed. So it's like I'm not a night owl, and I'm not an early bird. It's like maybe lunchtime's perfect for me.
Lazy. That's called lazy.
Yeah. I go with that. I accept it. Embrace it. Next one. Would you rather be invisible or able to read minds?
Ooh. I would like to be able to go invisible. I think you would go down. It potentially could be a sad place if you read minds. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather not know, I think.
Yeah, getting to know everyone thinking I'm a dickhead might not be a good thing.
Yeah, if you were on that Teams call and you heard all of the reactions, you might be.
Yeah, it's what women want, isn't it? It's like,
yeah. That movie's good.
Yeah, yeah. For me, mental health, I think I'll be invisible.
This next one, Anthony, I think I know the answer to this one, but I'll ask it anyway. If you could go back to any fashion trend, what would it be?
Yeah, you completely guessed it right. Absolutely 70s. I love everything about the 70s, and that is absolutely one of the things that I love about the 70s. I love the flares, the flashy polyester shirts, the music. I absolutely love the clobber, like, yeah.
And here's me thinking you were going to go for 80s for the shell suits.
No, I'd be wearing the
70s.
Dressed like John Travolta strutting down. Yeah.
You know, it was a good job I was on mute before, because I was pissing myself laughing with your name.
Yeah, I know.
What, can you say it again? Just it really tickles it.
Chico and Potente. Ass of tightness. Face of Colgate, 1977, 78, and 79.
Will we ever see a resurrection of it?
That's a long title. Can you not go into the Big Brother house with that title and just say, no, I'm not Anthony?
You would not want to see me having a resurrection and then fitted flares. Oh, sorry, I thought you meant erection. Sorry. Sorry.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, that'll keep me going on like that.
You know what? As
Now
well,
I've lost me.
just on a total side note, so that there was another character, right? And he was the cowboy, Billy Ray Valentine. And honestly, he had a baseball bat down his kegs. It was absolutely ridiculous. And the compere used to say, it's Billy Ray Valentine. He's packed full of fun with his 12-inch love gun.
But was it
Damn it.
real?
No, it was absolutely ridiculous. Honestly, it was ridiculous. And he used to wear the tightest jeans you've ever seen, and he wore these like chaps, but like you could obviously the chaps were the crotch was revealed, like it was around the jeans, so it was like really highlighting his the area. So honestly, you would literally just see women literally just staring at his crotch. It was.
I bet it was still in the
Don't
package.
blame him.
What?
I bet it was still in the package.
What, the 12-inch love gun?
Oh God, I'd be running in the opposite direction. Jesus.
Yeah, mate. It's one of my partner's favourite sayings, that. Dear me, I bet that was still in the package. What a disappointment.
We've lost her.
Oh, stop it. Oh dear.
Right, I'm lost my place there, and I'm getting all the quiver. Right, so the next one, Angela, be quiet. If you had 25 hours in the day, how would you spend your extra hour?
Ideally, sleep.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, ideally,
You've got
sleep.
a baby coming.
Yeah, ideally, sleep. Yeah.
Right, one more, then I will let you go. Best restaurant in the Northeast.
Oh, that's it. You know what? Darlington is like absolutely blessed with good restaurants. Darlington was the only 2 Michelin star restaurant in the Northeast, I think. It was a restaurant called the Raby Hunt, but there's a place called the Bay Horse that's in Herworth. That's I think that's got a rosette, and the food there, like me and my wife, we love going to restaurants. I love cooking. Cooking's one of my passions, and I struggle to get a better place than the Bay Horse. They've got a real like great balance of like, it's exquisite fine dining, but it's a pub, so you're still able to get like chips on the side. They have a great side menu. They do this dauphinoise potato that's unbelievable. The bread that you get from there, you get these 3 different types of bread, and they're all literally all freshly baked. Honestly, I can't recommend it enough. If you ever fancy in a really good restaurant, the Bay Horse in Herworth is like, that's my go-to place. But I just went there a couple of weeks ago on my birthday, and it was like 10 out of 10. It's 10 out of 10 every time. So yeah, that's my favourite restaurant.
I'm hungry now.
Sounds like my type of place. Chips and bread, perfect.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Oh, fabulous. Thank you, Anthony. So all of the places that you mentioned, I'll pop the links in the show notes, like LinkedIn and Instagram and everything like that. Is there anything else that you would like to say to our listeners before we let you go?
Thanks for listening. I hope it's been a laugh, hasn't it?
It has. I'm pleased you've enjoyed it. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and everyone go give Anthony a follow and check out all of the wonderful work he's doing with his mental health and never throw in the towel. So thank you, Anthony.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. Thanks very much. Cheers. It's been a laugh. I've enjoyed it.
Thanks so much much for listening. If you've enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support Geordie Pride further, then don't forget to subscribe, share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from us, you can follow us on Instagram @Geordie Pride. Until next time, keep that Geordie Pride shining bright.